I'm Hailey and today I'm making Spritz cookies. Yes, Spritz cookies. And some of you probably know what those are, but for those of you that don't, Spritz cookies are basically a sugar cookie, and then you pipe the dough through this cookie press, and it also comes with these little discs, and you can change the design, and then it makes these cute little sugar cookies, and then you put a glaze on them. They're really great. Okay, to start off, I'm going to cream my butter and my sugar in the bowl of a stand mixer. You can also use a hand mixer. And I have 1 cup of unsalted soft butter. You want it to be pretty soft, like creamy but not melty. So kind of like mayonnaise, but a little bit stiffer. And then I also have 1 cup of granulated sugar. And I'm just going to beat this until the butter and sugar is all nicely creamed and uniform. And make sure you scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl so that it's all fully combined. And then we're going to add 1 whole large egg and about 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I say about 2 teaspoons because if you do a little extra vanilla, it's always better. And that's what I like to do. A little extra vanilla is the secret. It's my secret ingredient. And now I'm going to beat all that in. You gotta make sure that you really beat that in really good.
I'll be back.
Okay. So once you've combined your butter and your sugar and your eggs and your vanilla, that was a lot to say, I don't know why I said it all. You gotta make sure that it's completely smooth and it's just super whipped up and you beat it very good. And then in a separate bowl, I have 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm gonna add in half a teaspoon of coarse salt. I'm just gonna quickly stir that around. I'm gonna gradually add my flour mixture into the bowl of my stand mixer. Yeah, see, I'll just do a spoonful, and then I'm gonna mix it in, and then I'll just keep doing a little bit at a time while it's going. Something that's also very important to do is to spoon your flour into the measuring cup and level it off rather than scooping your flour up because it packs in too much flour. And I did not do that today, and so I have a little bit of like a couple spoonfuls of flour left over here, but my dough is looking done because once it starts to come away from the sides of the bowl and it's not sticky anymore and it kind of forms one big dough ball, then you don't want to add any more flour to that. So I do have a couple spoonfuls left, but I'm just going to leave it out because if I add too much flour, it'll be like blood. So you don't want to do that. So while you're pressing out your cookies, you're going to want to start preheating the oven. My oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And now I'm going to fill my cookie press. I keep forgetting what it's called. Okay. The first thing you want to do is turn the arrow that's on top away from the handle and pull it all the way up. Your cookie press might be a little different, but they should be about the same. Now I'm going to unscrew the top lid, and I'm going to unscrew the bottom cap, and I'm going to put the design in the bottom. This is important because if you fill it with cookie dough before you put the design on the bottom, the cookie dough is just going to fall through because it is just a hole at the bottom. So I am going to use this one. It's one of my favorites, and you're gonna put it in your cap like this. Oh, there we go. And it should fit like a puzzle. So you might need to turn it, and then there's gonna be a little notch for the sides to go in right there. And then I'm gonna screw the bottom onto it. And now it's ready to be filled. Poor Sam got his hand smashed by a bunk bed, and I'm making his favorite cookies.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, he's the best.
Okay, my cookie press is completely full. It's stuffed full. And when you're screwing on the top lid, I like to hold it over my mixing bowl because sometimes the cookie dough comes out the bottom. And yeah, wait, why is this not fitting? Okay. I was like screwing it on crooked. Now I'm going to press out my cookies. This is very important because when you press them out, you want to make sure your baking sheet is icy cold. So you can just stick it in the freezer for a few minutes before you press it out, and that helps them not to spread. And this is very important if you want the cookies to look perfect. I have my pan. It just came out of the freezer, and now when you want to start piping out cookies, you have to turn the arrow so that it faces the handle. Otherwise, it's not really gonna work. So I'm gonna start at the bottom, almost touching my pan, and I'm gonna press the handle. Okay, that one is a little wonky because that was my first one. Now let's see. The first one is usually not that great. So mine is taking about 1.5 presses to get the right amount of cookie dough. Some will be prettier than others, and that's okay. Except for that one. Now I'm gonna bake these. Like I said, my oven is preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm gonna bake these for 10 to 12 minutes or until they get kind of golden brown on the edges and they're a little firmer. Now, while those are in the oven, it's time to get started on the glaze. So there's a couple different glazes that you can use for Spritz cookies, but today I'm going to be making a vanilla glaze. And we're gonna start off by sifting the powdered sugar. If you don't have a sifter, you can just skip sifting it, but I like to sift it to make sure that all of the powdered sugar is super fine and there's no large clumps. And once you've sifted your powdered sugar or not sifted it, just put it in a medium bowl. And I have 3 tablespoons of whole milk. And I'm also going to add half a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And lastly, I'm going to add 1.5 tablespoons of corn syrup. And normally I would use light corn syrup for this, but I did not have any light corn syrup on hand, so I am just going to use dark corn syrup today. It should be okay. It just has a little bit more of a caramely flavor, and it's got a darker color, so we're gonna see how it turns out. I mean, it's sugar, right? Sugar is sugar. It's gonna be okay, I think. Now I'm gonna use a whisk to whisk that all together until it's nice and smooth and glossy. It depends on how you measure your powdered sugar, how it turns out after you've whisked everything together. But if it feels too hard to stir, like it feels really thick and you can't stir it around, then you're gonna need to add like a little bit more milk, like a splash of milk, just until it gets to the right consistency. It should be very smooth. All right, I added about 1 tablespoon more of milk, and now I can easily whisk it around, and when I bring it up, see it's very, very runny. And that's how you want it to be because it's just gonna be a glaze that we dip the cookies into. All right, my cookies just came out of the oven. When you take them out, they're gonna need to rest for a couple minutes so that they'll be easily removable, but it should only take 2 minutes and they'll come off really easily. And if they don't, they might not be done. I don't know. I've never had that problem, so I don't really know how to deal with that, but you can probably Google it. And then you're gonna move them to a cooling rack so that they can cool down completely. These just look so cute, and they shouldn't be soft, okay? These are like kind of crunchy cookies, so you should be able to hold them without them falling apart in your hand. Now I'm just gonna keep refilling my cookie press with cookie dough and piping out more and then baking them. But before you bake them, it's very important to remember to stick your baking sheet back in the freezer and wait till it gets cold before you pipe the cookies onto here and bake them. So this is the last step to making your cookies. I have my baking sheet and it's lined with parchment paper, and that's because I'm going to take my cooling rack and set it on top of the baking sheet. Still has all the cookies on there, and that's because I'm going to dip the cookies into the glaze and then we're gonna let it drip through the baking cooling rack onto the parchment paper underneath. Because if you don't have the baking sheet underneath, it's just gonna get all over your countertop. And I guess that's okay if you're fine with that, but I'm not. Now that my cookies are completely cool, I'm going to take them one at a time and dip them face down into the glaze. And you want to make sure that you have clean hands when you're doing this. My other cookies just finished cooling. They're so cute. I made these little hearts, and then I also made pumpkins for fall, and I made a tree. After you finish glazing all of your cookies, they're going to need to sit for 10 to 20 minutes for the glaze to completely set. And when you can touch it and it's not wet, then that means they're done. So I am going to try one now. Okay. These cookies are amazing. They're just so delicious. They're so cute and tiny, but at the same time, they're also really tasty. I mean, it tastes like a shortbread with kind of a vanilla glaze on top, but it's not too much glaze to where it's like eating frosting and then it's too much and then it's too sweet and it makes you sick. I actually thought that the dark corn syrup was gonna make it taste kind of weird, but these are really good. Well, thank you so much for baking with me today. Let me know if you ever make Spritz cookies, and please don't forget to share my channel because I want everybody else to find this delicious recipe because seriously, these are so good. It's like an upgraded shortbread cookie. Okay, Samuel has been waiting for these all day. I'm sure he's gonna be super excited, so I'm gonna go get him so he can try one.